doesn't annoy us and try to be one of us. We've gotten a lot of guys who try to be one of the replacements.
Paul Westerberg, the messy genius behind the Replacements, was the voice of raw, unfiltered rebellion in the world of indie rock. To millions, he was the prophet of authenticity, the guy who preached honesty in music, even if it came with broken strings and slurred words. But behind that anti-establishment charm, there was a darker story, one of ego, rivalry, and fractured friendships. Because as much as Westerberg inspired a generation, he also managed to make some serious enemies along the way. From the early days of the Replacements, tension followed him like a shadow. Inside the band itself, cracks began to show. Lead guitarist Bob Stinson was the first to fall out with Westerberg. What started as creative disagreements soon turned into open warfare. Westerberg wanted to refine the band's sound, make it more mature, more lyrical, while Stinson wanted to stay wild, loud, and unpredictable. Recording sessions turned into shouting matches. Stinson accused Westerberg of killing the band's soul, while Westerberg claimed Stinson was holding them back. The brotherhood that had built the Replacements was torn apart by ambition and pride. When Stinson was finally forced out, it wasn't just the end of a friendship, it was the beginning of Westerberg's lonely road to legend. But the trouble didn't stop there. Around the same time, Westerberg crossed paths with another rising artist, Tommy Keene. Both were hailed as the future of American alternative rock. Critics loved to compare them, and neither liked it. Keene reportedly thought Westerberg's so-called authentic chaos was nothing more than sloppy showmanship. He believed Westerberg was getting praise not for skill, but for being a mess on stage. To Keene, the Replacements weren't rebels, they were amateurs hiding behind rebellion. And Westerberg, in turn, saw Keene as just another polished product of the industry he despised. Their rivalry symbolized a battle that defined the 1980s, the war between indie grit and commercial polish. Then came John Mellencamp, the Heartland rock icon. Westerberg had a habit of mocking big-name rock stars in interviews, calling them phonies playing at being real. Insiders claimed Mellencamp took that personally. He believed Westerberg didn't understand what it meant to sing about working-class life, to connect with ordinary people. Mellencamp, who built his image on blue-collar authenticity, saw Westerberg's cynicism as arrogance. When Westerberg called arena rock fake authenticity for suburban people, it was the final insult. Mellencamp reportedly fired back that indie punks like Westerberg were afraid of success because they couldn't handle the real world. It was a war of words, one that exposed the growing divide between old-school rockers and the underground generation. But perhaps the most surprising tension came from Bruce Springsteen. At first, Springsteen respected Westerberg. He saw promise in his songwriting, that same working-class poetry that had built the boss's empire. But that admiration turned to frustration. Springsteen thought Westerberg wasted his gift, that he used rebellion as an excuse for self-destruction. To Springsteen, music was about hope, connection, and purpose. Westerberg, on the other hand, seemed to celebrate pain and failure. Sources claimed Springsteen once described Westerberg's music as negativity disguised as truth. It wasn't hate, it was disappointment. The boss saw a mirror of what he could have been if he'd chosen chaos over conviction. Then there was Tom Petty. Petty actually admired Westerberg's songwriting and even reached out to collaborate. But when Westerberg brushed him off, it turned personal. Petty, who had fought his own battles for artistic freedom, reportedly felt insulted by Westerberg's arrogance. And when Westerberg accused classic rockers of blocking the airwaves for newer voices, Petty took it as a direct attack. In private, he called Westerberg a punk who doesn't understand how hard it is to survive in this business. It was the clash of generations, one built on rebellion, the other on endurance. But nothing cut deeper than his silent feud with B.O.B. Dylan. For years, Westerberg worshipped Dylan, his style, his lyricism, his mystery. Critics even called Westerberg the new Dylan. But that's where things went wrong. Dylan, the original outlaw poet, didn't appreciate being compared to what he saw as an imitator. Sources claimed he once called Westerberg a drunk kid trying to sound profound. And when Westerberg later criticized Dylan's newer work as safe and predictable, it was like a son turning on his father. The betrayal was mutual and final. Paul Westerberg's journey through fame is a paradox, a man who fought against the system, but also against everyone in it. His defiance made him a hero to misfits and outsiders, but it also left him isolated. From bandmates to icons, he turned friends into rivals, and rivals into legends. But perhaps that's the price of authenticity, to live in chaos, to burn bridges, and still walk away believing it was worth it. Because in the end, Westerberg never wanted to fit in, he wanted to matter. And for better or worse, he did.